These are the highlights of our classroom in 2018 equinox. So today we learned about measurement involving things like significant figures, which involves estimating the unknown digit, scientific notation, which involves writing big or small numbers in a concise form, and precision, which involves getting the same measurement over and over again. On day 2, we learned about the analysis of matter. We used the periodic table for topics such as ions, isotopes, atomic structure, and things like elements and compounds with their properties, which are both physical and chemical. On day 3, we learned about nomenclature, which basically means that we named different chemicals. There's 3 types of nomenclature for normal compounds, and then there's also special rules for naming acids. On day 4, we learned about chemical reactions. We did things such as using chemical equations and then balancing them to ensure that both the left and right side had the same amount of each substance. Using this, we could also predict what would come out of each reaction, and we could classify them based on how they worked. On day 5, we did chemical composition, which involved a new kind of unit known as the mole, which is basically equal to 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd particles of that substance. We also used simple formulas such as empirical formulas, which allowed us to use the percent composition of that thing. On day 6, we did stoichiometry, which basically means the math involved in chemistry. These involve mole ratios, and using this, we can calculate the mass of each reactant or product in a chemical equation, allowing us to tell how much to get. On day 7, we did Atomic Theory 1, which involves topics involving the electromagnetic spectrum. And using this, we could tell the spectral lines of each element as actually all of them are unique. On day 8, we did Atomic Theory 2, and for this, we just looked at trends in the periodic table for things such as ionization energy and electronegativity. This also involves electron configurations, which involves their arrangement. On day 9, we did Intermolecular Forces, which involves the forces within a molecule. So this involved things such as VSEPR theory, the types of chemical bonds, their polarity and dipole moments, and Lewis structures, which involves the drawings. On day 10, we did Intermolecular Forces, which involves evaporation and vapor pressure and how solids work. So we looked at how they bonded and their properties. On day 11, we did Thermochemistry, which basically means that it's the chemistry of heat. So using this, we worked on topics such as specific heat, calculating the change in energies, and how the energy changes during phase changes. On day 12, we did assignments involving gases, which involved the kinetic molecular theory, and then some math with these gases, and many laws that apply to these gases. Most of them just involve ratios that allow us to have very easy calculations. On day 13, we tackled solubility and molarity. Solubility involves how easy it is to dissolve a certain solute in a solvent, which usually involves water. And the molarity involves how concentrated that solute is in the solution. On day 2, we talked about similar things, except this time it was about acids, bases, and equilibrium. We learned about how acids have more H+ ions in them, as opposed to bases, which are more concentrated with a negative charge. On the other hand, equilibrium involves two substances having the same amount of change in their quantities, so as for them to reach the equilibrium and have the same amount of substance. Actually, not the same amount of substance, but in the same ratio.